How's it going today, guys? Today I'm going to be talking about learning a language and some strategies that you can use and some that I've implemented in learning different languages in the past. So right now I don't have any current mastery of any languages besides English, but I used to be fluent in Spanish, and right now I'm semi-fluent in Japanese. So some of the strategies that I've kind of learned lately that will definitely improve your ability to maintain and retain certain language cues is a few different things. The main things that I'm going to be talking about are failure, about how that relates to practice, as well as confidence going through and throughout the process of learning the language, and how that can definitely help improve your total memory retention of the language. So first off is you're going to have to fail a lot. Like a lot. It's important to know this because sometimes towards the beginning, whenever I was learning a new language, I would actually just feel very uncomfortable because I wasn't comfortable failing. So my sentences ended up being very structured, very simple, and didn't really provide a lot of depth to the conversation, and mostly made the conversations dull and uninteresting for people that I was trying to share with the language. And this is important to note because if you try to make everything perfect, you'll end up stunting your growth. The best part about this is that it doesn't have to be 100%. Whenever you're learning a new language, the recipients of that language are usually understanding. I kind of relate it to if you have somebody that doesn't speak English as their first language, you can generally get by on broken English and understanding them. Granted, this isn't the best strategy to stay with forever, but as a starting point, it's definitely a bit more acceptable. So one of the techniques that I use is I've been able to find colloquial phrases. So phrases that are really pronounced in cultures that sometimes are very easy to pick up and usable a lot. So for instance, I think a pretty easy one to remember is for Japanese, there's a phrase called sugoi or sugoi ne, which means like amazing, isn't it? And it's interesting because this context can change when using the word, and it's usable throughout a myriad of contexts. So it's interesting because you need to kind of use that sentence and know when it's okay and when it's not okay, or when it's appropriate. But those sort of phrases that are usable in multiple contexts will get you a long way. Now, I'm not saying you should just memorize vocab and kind of be done with it, but they'll be a good stepping stone in order to get you off your feet. Another thing is you have to understand that there's jargon for like languages that don't exist in other languages, if that makes sense. So for instance, I think there's certain phrases that if translated into English mean something completely different and completely irrelevant, and you should understand that like not everything in language is verbatim or word for word. Language is not a science. Language is perception. Language is trying to communicate. Language is something that is so more vast than what our human brains are actually completely capable of mastering, hence why there's such a variety of them. And what's fascinating is, like, although sometimes you can't translate word for word, you'll be better equipped if you're able to kind of look at the context of the situation and see how you can communicate effectively in that language. And because most people are accommodating, by using those sort of colloquial phrases and certain other techniques, it'll be a bit easier for you to kind of get your feet off the ground. So I would recommend that you should kind of bank on the fact that you're going to have to fail a lot. You shouldn't try to get it 100%. And quite honestly, translating word for word seems a bit unnatural in almost any language that you try to translate into. So that's not even like a useful technique at that point. So for instance, whenever I wanted to say something that I didn't really know how to say in direct word for word, I would describe what that feeling meant. So instead of saying, I am going to the library, I would say, I'm going to the place of books. And then people would be like, oh, okay, he probably means the library or the bookstore. And you can kind of get that sort of same meaning without having to know every single vocab word and every single grammatical phrase. It's comforting because although you might seem like you don't know a lot at first and you may be discouraged, by doing that, a simple correction from a native speaker in that language is all it takes is one time for them to say, oh, this is actually the word for library in this language, and then you have it. And that literally is how you learn languages. It's not a system of reading through the dictionary and perfecting every single vocab word, making sure your pronunciation is 100%. It's kind of similar to other parts in life where you just have to get out there and try it to do it. And lastly, I'll say the best way to learn a new language is to simply immerse yourself in it. And now I know that travel might be a bit difficult for some people, but the best way that you can do it is just to consume a copious amount of that language, whether it be through music, television, books, even if you're at that level, as well as other things. I know I use a few apps that actually help me speak to people in other languages that have been immensely helpful. There's apps such as Hello Talk that will allow you to kind of match with random language partners that will provide you with instant feedback or comments, and then you can teach them your native language as sort of an exchange. It's a free app and it's a great thing to download. I don't have any affiliation with them, but it's just something that I've been using for the past couple of years that's been immensely helpful in mastering new languages. So that's all. I think if you guys enjoyed this video, please let me know. And if you guys have any comments or feedback, I'd be happy to help anybody that's looking to learn a new language. All right, guys, thanks.